Tob Sabu, Jul Wahed, Ahlan Liya El Nuwabik Fasul. That means good light or good morning. Welcome to the Nuwabik class. Now, this is the second lesson out of the series um, that I'm presenting today. And the date is February 10th, 2019. And we're going to in later lessons, we'll get into the calendar, which we got to calculate right now. I don't want to be like the Romans and omit 10 years of records while Julius Caesar was out to war. But anyway, enough Tamahu stuff. Um, Today we're gonna go over some pronouns and maybe introduce some phrases like I'm doing this, or this belongs to me, or it's your book, my book. Simple little simple phrases that you could say to family, well, other Nuwabians, which is family, which is usra. Usra is family. So let's begin here. We last left off with the last video, the introduction class, pretty much going over the history of our language, where it came from, old cuneiform script, which is really Nuwabik, and pronunciations, and things like that. So today we're going to go over a lot of pronouns. So let's get started here. As I'm showing you on the screen is the El Damurat, which right here in the screen you could read. That's the pronouns, and the way we pronounce these is ane, anea, ni, ent, hu, ha, na, antum, and whom. Right, and then it gives you the English translation over here. So you're gonna want to memorize these, because these are gonna be each verb. Well, let me go back. These stand on their own. As we're talking about future tense, you're gonna use these a lot. And the word will or shall is the same word in the Nuwabik, which is sofa. So if you're saying sofa, ane sofa, you're saying I will, azhebu liya makun, or I'm sorry. Oh no, ane sofa, azhebu liya el dakun, right? I will go to the store. So that's saying that you're going to do something in the future. So just to touch on that a little bit. And then the possessive pronouns. One thing to take note here when you're looking at the possessive pronouns, the el malukif damurat. When you have li in there, it's referring to a non-person. And then when you say la, like let me not make it confusing. Like Luke can be used for Wa Tov Sabu Luke, and good day to you, and good morning. I don't like saying morning, because morning is, when someone dies, a lot of Christians and stuff go into mourning instead of realizing someone transitioned to a higher existence, but they just shed their garb, which is their flesh. So I'll go over that more, but I think the master teacher says something here. Our system of possession works like this. You could take a word like katub and make it katubi, my book. Possession is expressed in Nuwabik by adding the pronouns double ebun, which is two e's, uk, hu, ha, na, hum, and kum. So we'll take the word katub, and if we go back, here. Actually, you could say katubi, but I don't see. Okay, he never did spell out, but okay. So if he gives you all the pronoun suffixes here. So if you want to say your book is katubuk, and if you want to say his book is katubhu, her book would be katubha, and our book would be katubna. Their book would be katubhum, and y'all's book or you all's book, the second person plural is katubkum. So, he does spell it out right here. I'm sorry. So here's all the root words and then their suffixes. For me, I don't say nah, I say nah, because it means the same thing, unless you're saying ours, like something is ours, and then I'll put nah. And same thing with ha, because if you say katub ha, you're still saying her book, and then katub ha is her book, so it means the same thing. I just take out the extra a. It's because it's not needed. You can also say el katub izu lini, the book is for me. This system is also broken up in sections. One is called the possessive pronoun, and the others are called past lost possession, the present and negative possession. Note, the positive or the possessive pronoun Nuwabik is always done with placing the li preposition, which means for, when speaking of something belonging to someone or something. When speaking about a person, the li always changes into la when it is placed in front of a possessive pronoun. And he has some examples here. When using the word la, is el katub izu laha. And then when using the word li, el katub izu liha. So it's a little confusing here, but we'll get into that later. If you guys who are listening to this want to this is the house of possession that the master teacher uses to break down the possession of katub into the different subject pronouns, like the katubi, katubuk, katubna, katubhum, katubha, katubhu. So, good practice with that would be imperative to, understanding possession with nouns. Then he goes over the pen, the root word for pen is galum. So if you want to say my pen is galumi, his pen is galumhu, her pen is galumha, your pen is galumuk. Actually, that's a misspelling there. Our pen is galumna, their pen is galumhum, y'all's pen or you all's pen is galumkum. So, keep that in mind. There's actually something I want to go over here, which is the Nuwabik Lessons Made Easy practice books that the master teacher came out with back in the day. And he actually goes over the future tense words. So let me switch screens here. Still getting used to this whole OBS studio thing, but if we want to say something in the future, let me see. Okay, take that down, and you need to say so far, and I don't know. Can you guys? Yeah, I can make it out. Well, we'll see. I can make that out. Okay. I'm trying to see if I need to zoom in a little bit more, but it looks like it's okay. Yeah. So far equals will or shall. Right? Did I spell shall right? Yeah, I did. Okay. So if I want to say, let's take a verb in Nuwabik, right? Let's say the word see is nazur. So the word, in English, this is how you would write in English using the Risk Nuwabik script, right? So you would say Safa. Nazur. Right? Atned Safa Nazur. Now, you read this and you say, oh, I will see. But in Nuwabik, the logic is a little tighter than that. It's I will see. This see right here it's Nazur is to see or look, right? That does not tie into I. For this to tie into I, you would have to conjugate this this word Nazur, because it's a verb and it must be conjugated, especially if you're using the word Atned Safa, as a future tense sentence. So what we would do is I was trying to find the next section I was going to do, but you would keep the Atned, and you don't really conjugate auxiliary verbs, and auxiliary verbs are just verbs that help out the regular verb, right? Or the verb, the transitive verb, or what do they call it? In a verb intransitive or a verb transitive, meaning a verb intransitive is something that needs a direct object, like I see the house. That's a verb transitive. If you want to say I see, you could also say I see without actually seeing something, right? That's called a verb intransitive. So in this instance, anyway, I just want to show you the conjugations of verbs with auxiliary verbs. So Atned Safa, and this is going to be Anzeru, right? Because we have to conjugate the word Nazur. Now that's a good segue into the next lesson, because how do you conjugate Nazur? Mudhuta, how do you do that, Mudhuta? Alright. Hold on, let me spray this thing off. Tassel keeps getting in the way. Couldn't think about anything else to do but teach y'all some Nuwabik on this beautiful Sunday. So let's talk about conjugation, shall we? So let's actually I'm trying to look in the book here to show you guys. Okay, that don't want to work for me. Okay, give me a second here. The forms. Let's talk about the forms, but we don't want to get into the forms yet. Okay, constructing verbs. Okay, so let's take a look. I'm gonna let y'all see what I'm seeing real quick. Atwuz, that means, okay, to want a thing, right? So we're gonna take atwuz and we're gonna conjugate the present tense form of the word. The present tense form of atwuz. So let's begin. So we got the word atwuz. Right? Atwuz. Can everybody see that? Okay, so we got atwuz. Atwuz. It's kind of hard to point exactly if I'm looking at the camera. Anyway, so we got atwuz, which is to. Sorry. God damn it. Means to want, right? Now, when you conjugate a verb, there's actually 3 root letters, right? There's 3 root letters, and we're gonna put that in red. So let's go. So the first root letter, second root letter, third root letter, right? It's called the trilateral root, which is in like almost all Semitic languages, starting from whatever you think is first, the Medo-Neter or the Sumerian Nuwabik, whatever you think is first. All of the languages went by 3-letter roots. So, and they're pretty much like heavy. I picture them like heavy stones, and then the vowels that usually go around these 3-letter roots, they change positions, they lengthen the word, shorten the word, but those 3 letters will always remain within the word, and then the vowels and all the construction happens around these 3-letter roots. So go back to black pen. So if I say atwezu is to want, that's the root word, right? So let me, right here, this is the root word. It doesn't break down to anything further than that. It's the word want, unconjugated, you could say. So, and I'm going to actually spell out the different formats. We're just going to go into the different formats now of what atwuz could be. Like I want, you want, they want, she wants, he wants, we want. So we're gonna do this all right here. So let's say I want to say I want, right? Now this usually, with this word atwuz, the first root letter is gonna be a. Usually it's a consonant, not a vowel, but if the word, there's a rule in Nuwabik, if the word starts with an A, then that A is a root letter. So if I want to say I want, the format is like this. All right, so we say I want. It's gonna be in this case, it's always X, 1, 2, X, 3, X. Right? So these, the numbers represent the root letter. But this one's kind of irregular because the first root letter is an A. So in this instance, the word would be, and I'm actually going to put this in red. The word would be, we would still keep that because it's kind of irregular when it comes to the first root letter being an A. So the word would actually be atwezu, and that means I want, right? So in this instance, we got the X and the 1 is kind of going together. Now, let me give another example with the first root letter actually being a consonant. Like, we'll go back to nazur. So nazur means to see, look, and now I want to say I see or I look. I see is a better translation though. So we're going to take the same root here, right? And let me spell out the word nazur just for demonstration purposes. So nazur is like this, right? Nazur is C, but if I want to conjugate azur using the same format right here, right? It's actually going to be like this. So say I see. So I would say the A representing the X, and then the first root letter. Oh yeah, let me draw out these root letters too. I'm sorry. So those are the root letters. And did I call that an on? Well, anyway, N, a zera, and a re. Right. So that's the root letters, and then they get changed and move around according to this format to say I want something, right? We're gonna try to keep it simple. So then it's, you know what? I got a better idea. We'll put the root letters in black, so it'll give more emphasis to what we're doing. So now we got anzeru. Anzeru means I see. And I put the root letters in black for you so you guys can see how the root letters kind of move around from the root, right? Because if you look at the root nazur into anzeru, you can tell that some things have moved, some things have been added, some things have been things have changed, right? So for the first letter is an X, and the X pretty much always represents the A, the At letter, and then your root letters, and then this one always represents an Un, which is an E. Then the last one represents a Nun, which is the U. So you're just basically taking these vowels and moving them around the root letters, right? And all in our language, the root letters are always there. Sometimes it's a word with only 2 root letters. Sometimes it's 4. Sometimes it's 5. There's a lot of stuff going on with the language once you start conjugating and then creating new words that, I find out when I do my translations. There's a lot of words that aren't in the initial dictionary that I need to create for translations. Or if I'm just writing something in Nuwabik, like a paragraph, maybe to a story or something, or just for practice, I will find that, there's certain words that aren't in the book, the initial glossary or the lexicon from English to Nuwabik that I need. So then you start using the forms, but that's more advanced. We'll get into more of that later. But I wanted you to see the initial conjugation because I like plus the verb is the easiest conjugation, right? So I start off with I, and then now we should go into you want, they want. We'll go into that now. So give me a second here while I do this. Where's my towel at? All right, there we go. I should get some music playing in here, some chant or something. You guys aren't Cosmosians, so I can't play Cosmosan music for you. Okay, so let me get my red pen, and where's my black pen here? All right, so now we went over I, see, I want. Now we're just gonna deal with the word wuz, as you see on your screen. But I will, let me get my brown marker for the root letter. So we always want to start from the root. And we always want to remember the formula of how to conjugate this. So the root is, root is flip the screen. Root is atwuz. All right, might have to blow it up on YouTube when y'all watch this, because to me, I can see it, but okay, we'll just keep going. All right, so the root is atwuz, and we want to say, I forgot I got a little nerd pocket protector here. Okay, so we want to say, you want, right? At a second person singular, we want to say you want. So the question is, we want to say you want, right? How do we do that in Nuwabik? And the formula is a little different for singular verb conjugations. Singular verb conjugations always have a u on the end. Plural verb conjugations like they, we, and you all have a ua on the end. So let me break that down. So you want, we always want to stick to the formula. So you want is always x, 1, 2, x, 3, x. All right. So this is always going to be, and the x's are just showing you how it's moving around, but the x's represent specific letters. It's going to be a T. I'll just put it in English. A T. It's always going to be an A, and in this instance, it's atwezu. So it's a little different. Yeah, it's going to be a little different. All right, and actually, the sutuk may be the first letter, but I don't want to confuse people. All right, so, but no, we're not gonna do it like that. We're gonna do it the simple way, because the sutuk could be considered a root letter, but I don't want to do that. All right, so again, unfortunately, with atwuz, it's the first root letter is actually a vowel, so these are gonna represent the same thing, right? And I'll show you later about that. No, I don't want to put in the root letter. We already know what the root letters are, right? We know it's a W, and a Z, so we know that already. So we don't need to put that there, but we do know this X equals an E. If I can, good Lord, I can't write. We do know this equals an E, and then we got another root letter here, which is going to be the Z, and then the U is going to come there. So the word's going to look like this, and I'm sorry if that's confusing. That's my bad. So the word is going to look like this, and that's going to equal tatwezu. Tatwezu. That's going to equal tatwezu. There's always a TA in the front, but in this instance, this is kind of like it's irregular because your first root letter is an A. So this can be taken as a lesson like if the first root letter is an A, and also there's a sutuk in there, like the glottal stop, like ah, like oh, you know, that stop. It also could complicate things, but in this instance, I'm trying not to complicate you on the A being the first root and then the sutuk, like awuz, not awuz. It's not awuz, it's awuz. So, okay, so given that, we can go into you want, she want, he want, all right? And then move on to the next, and I'll continue the lesson in the next lesson. So we'll continue this part in the next lesson as far as conjugating with pronouns. All right, and then you want to say he, he want, or he wants, or however. All you're gonna do, this will change to a Y, a yakul. So once we change that to a yakul, it's gonna basically be the same format except for the first letter. So we go X, X, 1, 2, X, 3, X. So now we have Y, we have an A. Remember, in this instance, this is the same root letter, and then E and U. Alright, pretty simple. Alright, we got it now. We got the groove. So you should probably, if you're catching on pretty quickly, you should already know what the word is, right? You know all I'm gonna do is replace the T with a Y, and it's gonna be Yatwezu. So, but I know you guys want to see how it looks. Yatwezu. You can say Yatwezu Baz Taud. I want some food, or he wants some food. Yatwezu Baz Taud. He wants some food, right? So, and then you can say she wants. She wants. You just put the H, right? So if, let's go through that real quick. If I'm not gonna use the formula this time because you guys, well, I'll do it. I'll stop being lazy. I'll do it. Someone may want to see how it's done. So let me do that. So we got our same formula here. All right, and then now, let me write that clearly, and as you see, I'm not writing down the root letters because you guys, we went over that in the last, I'll call it a slide, the last slide. We went over what the root letters were. So you should know that already. So I'm just putting in what's changing in the format. Right? So now we have our newly conjugated verb where she is doing the action. Right? Right? Now we got Hatwezu, 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 ha. You hear that? Hatwezu, Hatwezu. So that's how you pronounce those words. And we'll go over into the plurals next slide. So hopefully everybody got that pretty good. And I can erase this. And if we need to have a live class or whatever, we could also do that. Very important that as a people, we learn our language and start to use this language as the root for all other languages that we speak, instead of using Inglese. Inglese. All right, so we got that. We went over the future tense of things, and now since we went over the verbs want and buy, I figure we could start to play around with some sentences, at least in the present tense of what I just showed you guys. So I'm gonna introduce some words here, like baz is some, like I want something, and then thing would be shayu is thing. Actually, I'm sorry, let's go and look at some interrogative pronouns for the language, because these are pretty important to learn. So let's look at the screen here. So these are all the interrogative pronouns. These are question starters, question words. Um, I've actually changed one of the words because they use it in Arabic, and the more distinct our language is from all other languages, I rather go that route. All right. So, but this is the original book. I haven't had time to really make some of the corrections that need to be made, especially with the pronunciation. So this wasn't. This is a good starting place at the master teacher, but the master teacher said you're supposed to use your language. Change it if needed. Use it in the stories. Use it to tell your story. Use it in chanting. Use it, writing, whatever. Just use your language. So, um, so let's go over what these words should sound like, right? Because um, in our language, now that I'm looking at this interrogative pronoun page, in our language, you're gonna find a lot of the pronunciation is different as far as when you see, and let's okay, because there's a couple of words on here. Like I'm gonna point some out, like why, right? Why is lay in our language, right? Actually, that one's not a go. Let's